Alright, continuing with the Bark Lord saga. Yeah, I'm tired and kind of depressed, kind of mellow, kind of hopeless and despondent, so I'll just acquiesce. Whatever you say, sure, whatever. Okay, life is great, sure, okay. Yeah.
And it's also, so it's just a practical. Well, there's a lot of
let's move on. Let's jump a little. Well, alright, I'll wait till we get to a section where he's talking. Yeah, that's what I'll wait for.
Don't plan out exactly, that they're going to have a baby and this is what it's going to be his name, and they don't probably save up $30,000-$40,000 ahead of time before they have it. But that doesn't mean that they're irresponsible, right? Just saying.
Yeah, just saying. No, I think it does. I think that's the definition of irresponsibility. It's about, like I said, you really can't do anything more significant in your existence, right? You either kill somebody or you create somebody. Those are like the biggies, right? You kill somebody or you create somebody. So yeah, this creation thing's got to be taken a lot more seriously. Just as a given. I mean, it's just so... I don't even know how people don't draw their conclusion just from their own life experience. I mean, it just always does amaze me that these people with rather dysfunctional lives that are, depressive and a lot of other things, and they'll talk about like, oh yeah, well, if I have a kid, so what? These women. And my brain just freezes because I'm just like, you have every example in your own life. You talk about driving your car off a cliff, or you have some other emotional reaction to your dissatisfaction with your life, and yet you'll say to yourself, I'm competent to do it to somebody else, and somehow you're going to have the control. You're going to be able to manipulate that new person so it's not going to be miserable. I guess it all has to do with some sort of blame thing. I guess everybody blames their problems on their parents or something. Instead of finding the right thing to point their finger at, they point at the wrong thing and just figure, oh, well, my parents made me an asshole. And no, you were going to be an asshole no matter what. But yeah, I mean, there's no excuse for being any kind of even a little bit aggressive, diligent in your being prepared for having a kid. It's 18 years and it's all on you. I mean, realistically. I just don't know how anybody can't take that seriously. It's stunning. Really.
It falls into this category, Gary. Right?
Prevent that. Obviously, there's cultures that don't allow women access to birth control.
Well, anyway, yeah, whatever. I don't want to get lost in a subject about how people have kids. I'm just saying, I just think it's a given that most people don't have kids, giving it nearly enough thought, no recognition of the real possibilities of horror falling in their lap. Just because there's this whole social engine that endorses this whole thing, this love the prego thing, and it's there. And it's just all the subsidies, all the other crap, all this encouragement. Instead of there's just no message out there saying, hold on, slow down, and maybe even have a few poster childs like myself talking about how I really am not going to appreciate it. All right, especially in this context, because there is no more excuses anymore. Alright, like I said, we are past the God delusion. We're past the leave it to beaver notions of what a life is. We know it doesn't work out that way. And this is just, there's just no excuse anymore for creating the mess, or even allowing the mess. And I'd be damn resentful if, of a parent in this circumstance now, having kids. Especially when you're looking at what the world is facing. It just seems so preposterously irrational. Yeah, alright, so he asked the direct question, which is it? People are reckless assholes or deliberate assholes? And yes, they're both. They're either reckless or deliberately stupid. Yeah, they're either stupid, like stupid, double stupid, or else they're just fucking stupid. But yeah, that's what people are. Go watch some YouTube videos. I think a kitten video has 24 million hits.
Have anymore. Some people have 2. If everybody had 2, the population should stay the same, right?
Yeah, well, look, it's the Adam and Eve thing. Yeah, people just don't do that, right? So again, there's this engine driving population growth, and I'm just saying that yeah, that engine needs to be stopped. The propaganda needs to be turned around. People have to see it as a responsibility. They have to know it's gonna impact them like a responsibility. They just can't go run to the nanny state, you know, to take care of the problem for them. You know, this burden has got to be placed back on them, their choice. Again, you know, I can make these arguments from different places. I mean, first, it's an imposition to impose life when you can't control the experiment, and you will create people who resent the disturbing them, you know, dragging them from their comfortable nothing and forcing them into this shit. And it is shit. People are allowed to believe this is shit. You might think it's some kind of charming, sparkly, organic bibble babble, but it's people can look at it and say this is shit, quite rationally. And then there's the second argument that even if I wasn't anti-natalist, I would resent this whole idea that somehow, why am I subsidizing your reproductive decisions? Why is it my problem? I mean, this is just bullshit. It's a huge blight on my life that I have to fucking subsidize your stupid, idiotic desire to build your amusement park next door to my house too. I gotta listen to your brats' noise. I gotta have them fuck my property up. I gotta have them screw me over for money to educate the little monsters. I mean, why? Why is it my problem?
There wouldn't be an increase. So now are we talking about population control, or are we talking about the imposition? See, now
it doesn't really matter. I mean, really, you want to cut all and slice and dice all this stuff, it doesn't matter. I've said this before. Antinatalism has a direction. The direction is ending suffering. Okay, that's the direction. All right. So anything that ends the suffering, anything that lowers the suffering economy, okay, is part of the same road. So there's no conflict there. I can be both for reduced human population and no human population. I don't have to say halfway down the road or nothing, or all the way down the road or nothing. It's the direction I care about. It's the direction the antinatalist cares about. It's about the fact that you can't. Suffering is like the gravity that keeps the whole thing running. There's no engine of bullshit without the suffering. Everything's just all the noise, all the nonsense is created by this force, and this force is decidedly negative. Again, I'll argue you can't do anything in this world but either clean up somebody else's mess or the mess you make. Okay, and the mess is always going to be deprivation and need. And that's what we create by existing. We don't satisfy a need by existing. We create a need by existing. That's broken. It's stupid. It's illogical. Yeah. Ugh. Well, anyway, alright, so this part he's doing the argument part, and he's like, why am I arguing with them if I agree with them? Because they're pro-birth control or something. And I stated as explicitly as I can, the video was subject dialogue on antinatalism. They didn't talk about whether or not life is worth living, whether it's worth imposing. They talked about silly psychology of the people who might advocate such a position, and they talked about you know, how people behave currently in terms of how they reproduce. But they didn't talk about the subject of whether or not life is a silly manifestation of a DNA molecule's replication. They didn't get to the subject of antinatalism, which is my argument that the living thing is just a need machine. The sentient beast is just a need machine. It creates need. It doesn't solve need. It doesn't resolve need. It doesn't satisfy need. It creates need. And you don't see why I'm frustrated? It's not the same subject.
just saying.
Just don't deal with any part of the real argument here. Don't even come close to it. just make up a bunch of fucking personal attacks against the people who are anti-natalist, okay? So attack the folk.
You never do that, do you, Gary? You never do that. You never deal with personal. You never just resort to personal attacks.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to argue this kind of crap forever. I'm going to make the contention that, yeah, I don't come with it first. All right, somebody starts that game. Yeah, I'll play. All right, you're going to punch me, then I'll punch back. I'm not going to just say, oh, you punched me and leave it at that. No, I mean, I'll whatever. You want to throw fire, I'll throw fire back. You want to throw mud, I'll throw mud back. All right, but that's not how I conduct the argument. You can look at my videos that initiate a debate. I don't just sit there and character assassinate. No, I advocate for a position. And if the conclusion is you have to be an insensitive lunatic, well, you know, I can't do much about insensitive lunatic. I mean, it's a descriptive term. It's not just an ad hominem attack. So I don't know how thin you want to draw these lines, but I think it's kind of intellectually dishonest, or something like that, some kind of dishonest, for you to think that none of this was instigated by any of the people attempting to attack my philosophy, that somehow I got into their house first. I think that's just bullshit. Their personal space first. So I'm going to call bullshit on this. Bullshit.
Instead of dealing with what they're actually saying. You never do that, do you?
Anyway, yeah, moving on to the next point to be made, I guess. Yeah, you did get a good laugh at the joke I made. Yeah, it was pretty funny.
Person basically a criminal just for imposing life on them.
So now he's implying that somehow a character assassination or a personal attack because I'm saying that people who are imposing life on kids are arrogant, are obnoxious, are egotistical, are using some other word to describe this incredibly aggressive behavior where they think they can effectively play God. And he's calling that a personal attack. Well, I'm sorry. I mean, that's just a ludicrous definition. I mean, it is what it is. If somebody's gambling with somebody else's money, there's got to be a word for that. And until you make a counter argument that they're not gambling with somebody else's money, that somehow they're going to pay for the downside risk, this is just bullshit. Yeah, bullshit. I'll call bullshit again.
Tips on how to transfer my files, Gary. That was really nice of you. I appreciate that. And thanks for, I don't know, it was a few weeks ago when we were in Stickam, and we had a nice talk. It was with you and Piero and Gracie and I think, and there might have been a couple others at the end of the night.
Alright, I'm not going to go into all this. So I was basically making my consumption, reproduction, cannibalism, addiction argument again. And he's going to argue that it's because people are nice to each other now and then. Because once in a while they'll develop friendships or associations, familiarities, let's call them. Dependencies, you could even call them. Part of the addiction word, I'm afraid. Yeah, they start to be able to meld their self-interest with someone else's self-interest. Because they gain a concern for it. So yeah, it's like I feed the cat every day, and I pet the cat, and I worry about the cat. It's been hanging out in the driveway too much, and that scares me, it worries me. Yeah, that we can do, but we're doing it out of motivating forces that have their history in our evolution, and it was because gangs needed something to knit them together, and that's the force of it. It's a force of attachability that doesn't, you know, we're basically being fooled by the DNA. I mean, I made this argument in one of my videos, but you know, this all gets very complicated. Evolution isn't. It's very simple in its concept, but the nuance has a lot of characters, a lot of convolutions inside the nuance of each relationship. But what's basically happened is we live in a very unnatural world. Okay, in our whole ancestry we lived in family units. We lived in segregated, racially segregated units. So there wasn't any opportunity for this kind of diversity thing to take place. But now we live in very mixed tribes. And so now we're able to attach to things that necessarily wouldn't have any genetic component, any genetic advantage. But it's going to happen because we learned how to do it back in that different environment. So it's like being able to transfer your skills at playing basketball to, let's say, playing squash or something. Some of those skills are going to be transferable. And that's all it is. It's a transference of something that was advantageous in our past. And now, because we're in this different environment, it still has a functionality. It still exists, but it's doing something a little subtly different. But anyway, I don't really want to do all this, evolutionary education crap in the middle of this video. So, till the next segment. Alright, I did something kind of snarky here. Played the psychology game again. Says I have issues with my parents and I should talk to them. Well, I've done that, but that's irrelevant. And then he basically said it's, he made a little Freudian slip there. He says you have an issue with parents in general. Yeah, that's right. I have an issue with drunk drivers in general. I mean, there could be a drunk I could really like, and he could be a really good guy. But then he'll excuse his behavior, and it'll piss the hell out of me, and I still won't whap him as hard as I would somebody else because of the personal relationship. But that's irrelevant. The point is yeah, I'm against drunk driving. I'm against parenthood. It's irresponsible, reckless, stupid behavior. There's no excuse for it. There's no need for it. It's a selfish indulgence. I mean, how many ways does this have to be put? And that's not a personal attack. To call something a selfish indulgence is not talking about their psychology. It's talking about their philosophy. They obviously don't have any social prohibition. They don't have any intellectual prohibition from fucking with somebody else by doing an experiment on somebody else. I mean, the idea of that being wrong occurred to me when I was before grammar school. I mean, fuck. It's not that hard a concept. You don't fuck with somebody else. Damn. Not that hard to figure out. So it's not about psychology. It's about not having any kind of philosophical apprehension about fucking with somebody else. Alright, another cheap remark. Got a leak in the roof. Anyway, saying that now he's going to ask why aren't all the big name scientists anti-natalists and blah blah blah. Why is that my problem? I can barely get basic real Darwinian evolutionary scientists to accept what evolution really is. So again, just because I defend and support the idea of science, acquiring knowledge of how things work, and in certain circumstances applying that knowledge, just because I defend that notion that we should figure out how things work and apply that knowledge, does not mean I have to account for the stupidity of scientists. I mean, that's just stupid. Not my problem. Yeah, this was kind of a weird spot. So he said he'd be a psychotic megalomaniac or something if you wanted to get rid of at least all sentient life on planet Earth. But if you want to just gracefully exit the human race, that's okay. So again, we're back to some sort of substantial conflict in our understanding of reality. Why would I be pleased to leave planet Earth with a bunch of animals eating each other on it? Sentient retards, essentially. Like, say if we had a retarded subhuman race, and we decided to leave, and we left the retards on the island, or whatever you want to do the metaphor for, and we just left them retarded to their own devices. Why the fuck would we do that? That's insane. That's like leaving your kids, at the World's Fair or something. You just abandon them. You just leave them there. Why the fuck would you do that? That's insane. Sorry, I can't make any sense out of that at all.
Oh, yes.
Okay, so that's the argument. You're saying that is the argument. It's not just about not procreating anymore. It's about eradicating all life. I just want to make sure that we're on the same page now, because within this video, you have changed your standards. You have changed your goalposts. Right? I just want to know where you actually stand. What is your ultimate goal is to end it. No consciousness whatsoever.
The human beings.
Yeah, well, look, I'm sorry you have some misunderstanding, but I mean, there's a whole history of videos, and so, yeah, and all those videos have made this point over and over and over again. So it's really not my fault there's a misunderstanding. That's all on you, I'm afraid. Okay, I'm sorry you had a misunderstanding, but it's not Derived Energy's fault. It's not my fault. It's not David Benatar's fault. It's your fault.
First, okay.
Alright, so in this part he's sort of defending the idea that animals are doing okay, they're mostly happy or something, or many of them are, and it's okay. So again, this is just this, to me, completely irrational notion that a bunch of animals who have absolutely no choice, they're completely owned and possessed by desires, they don't even intend to reproduce, they don't even intend to extend their species, they don't intend any of this shit, and somehow the best interest of them is to leave them to the DNA molecule. That applying our intelligence to their welfare would be stupid. We should lead the retards to the DNA molecule, let the DNA molecule be the babysitter. I mean, it's, to me, it's just completely illogical. I am going to be more capable of understanding their welfare than anything else on this planet, and it would be just idiotic for me not to take responsibility as the adult on the planet. So that's just bullshit, and I can't do much for your fairy tale notions that, you know, the animals are all having a good time and it's all good. Even the whole life-death thing, even if it wasn't bad, just the whole idea of living and dying is somehow purposeful. Oh yeah, let's just keep cycling this thing. Learn how to be a good deer and then die. Learn how to be a good lion, die. You know, get things really nice, have a nice little life, get a nice little pride, and then you know, watch one of your wives keel over, and watch that one get killed by hyenas. You know, and watch, you know, a couple of dozen cubs get slaughtered. Sorry, I don't get it. You wanna glorify that slaughterhouse? That's your business. I can't do anything for you there. If you can watch a baby elephant get eaten alive and say it's okay, fine. I have no words for you. You know, I just don't. Words aren't going to be more powerful than that statement in itself, that image in itself. If that doesn't get to you, if that isn't enough for you, there's nothing I can say. But I think you're just being a minister for a DNA molecule. Why would you minister for a DNA molecule? It's nuttier than ministering for a god. It really is. Sorry. Crazy.
And I'm sure you could solve all those issues if we just did what you think we should do.
Well, I'm sure I could fix a lot of those problems. So here he was talking about the environment and how somehow there's a distinction between the damage we're doing and the damage a comet does, for example. Then no, there's no distinction. The environment has radically changed over time. It used to be one continent, you know, go figure. So I mean, yeah, the Earth is going through changes. We're just going to create another change. And yes, it'll be detrimental to human life, but it'll be a great opportunity for some, you know, for the cockroaches. Just as the comet that killed the dinosaurs was the opportunity that provided us our opportunity. But my point is I don't want a winner. I don't give a fuck who wins. I don't want a winner. I don't want a loser. I just want the stupid, idiotic, nonsensical, retarded wheel of nonsense to stop spinning. Alright, well, I think I'll end this segment on this one because he's starting to piss me off pretty good now. So right here, you know, where Professor Anton was saying, oh, there's a lot of suffering in the world, and you could hear what was coming, but, okay, the justifying but was coming. Just like the justifying but after 70 million people died in World War II, but we got Tang, or some other kind of bullshit. The rationalization, the excuse for the carnage in nature was coming, and I ridiculed it by just saying la 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 la, pink balloon, because yeah, it's just this whitewash. We'll just like take that whole carnage, the 500 million years of sentient life eating itself, and we'll just kind of paint it over, nice little whitewash right over that. Yeah, we'll acknowledge it exists, but we're whitewashing it as they were acknowledging it. Oh, yeah, that was really bad. Yeah. But now it's out of the way. Now let's talk about, you know, who's going to win the big professional wrestling match between, you know, Ivan the Stupid and Igor the Retarded. I mean, it's just fuck you. I got nothing to say here. That's how people diminish the meaning of suffering, is by doing exactly what Professor Anton did. And for you to find it offensive that I would mock that kind of superficial and trivial dismissal of other sentient beings suffering, well, what can I say? Fuck you too. Yeah, I think it's enough.